y'all. Yes, indeed. Welcome to UDR Productions. Please like, subscribe, and share. It doesn't cost you nothing to subscribe, so we can keep bringing you guys all this good content from prayer to streets. UDR Productions. Let's go and let's get it. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. How you guys doing, man? How's everything? I want to talk about my life, of course, and how did UDR Productions go about? First and foremost, UDR Productions was always, at first it was UD Productions, but UD Productions was something that was always, it was always in the making. It was always, hold on, y'all. So I want y'all guys to hear me loud and clear. UD was in the making for a long time. You know, it was in the making for a long time. There was just certain things that I've been through in my life that enabled me to want to speak out, you know, with things that was going on in life. As y'all guys see, let me bring this to your attention. This is the piece right here I fought so hard to get, you know, I got it today and everything. As you see, it has the lit LCD screen. These are all of the beat buttons, you know. You got the performance strip right here. See, I don't know if you can see it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, see. Let me show you. Let me turn it up and everything. You know what? Let me pause this. Let me press. All right. Let me just show y'all something real quick, just to, you know, show you. All right, there you go right there. Now let me get to the regular beat that we had playing just now. So, it's a lot of things that, you know, I've been through in life, man, you know, and, you know, I always needed to just have some type of way to speak out, to just talk to people, you know what I mean? Let people know, you know, that hey, you know, this is what I'm going through. I just need other people to know, because there's other people out there that was going through the same thing I was going through. You know what I mean? But they just never had a voice. You know, and that's what UDR Productions is about. Like, it gives people a chance that never had a chance, that never had a voice, to come to this studio and speak out and give a voice, you know. And we don't tolerate no hostile people. Like, if you making hostile claims, or you know, you talking reckless, nah, we don't do that. We trying to live easy, you know what I mean? But just give a voice to people at the same time, you know. So there was some people that was encountered that got like that, and it's just not tolerated, man. I've been through so much in my life, man. Both my parents was in the household, you know what I'm saying? But I still been through stuff. You know, even when you go out of the street, your family never know what you gonna encounter. They don't never know, you know, being from Brooklyn, New York and everything, your family, once you leave the safe haven of your home with your mother and father or single parents or what, you know, whatever the case may be. I was fortunate to have both my parents in the household with my siblings, you know, but like I said, once you leave their house, you on another time level. And your parents can't protect you from everything in the streets, yo. That's how reckless it is. But the reason why I'm making this video tonight is because it was a recap of to let y'all know what happened with this product right here. Why I went through so much trouble going to get it, because it's a dope product. It has weight and everything. It feels good. You know what I'm saying? It's a piece of equipment that feels good to have around. It doesn't feel light and trashy. So I'm gonna just put that one out there. Personas, y'all guys made a good product. Congratulations. But they always make good products from what I hear anyway. But anyway, let's get back to the real topic at hand. Coming up as a kid, I originated in the 90s of East Flatbush. I lived on East 96th Street first, between Church Avenue and I believe that's Linden Boulevard. And I remember that neighborhood was a real nice looking neighborhood to me. I liked that neighborhood a lot. And my mother moved. You know, that was like the ideal neighborhood. But before we moved there, we lived in Crown Heights. You know, I believe it was St. John's and some other place. And then we moved. We didn't live there that long. And then we moved to Autumn Avenue. Autumn Avenue was the house that we lived in. Was like, it was kind of crazy. I get into that on another date. You know, with that story, I don't want y'all guys to think I'm nuts or nothing like that. But when we lived in the 90s, it was a situation where I was introduced to one of my cousins who was a gang member. My cousin named John. You know, and with him, we had a couple of, you know, cousins. We had, it was my cousin John, my cousin Amar, you had Negro, you had Charlton, you had Lloyd, Prince, Kareem. It was so many of them that was related, and they was a big gang in East Flatbush, man. Like, when I went to PS219, like, my cousins used to beat people up for me. Like, when somebody got out of pocket, man, my cousin John, I'll never forget him. I don't know what he's doing right now. Last I heard, he was a leader of the Crips in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Last I heard. And the last time I seen my cousin, he was sitting on Church Avenue and Linden Boulevard, and he was telling me about church. And he was talking about he wanted to get his soul right. But if he's the leader of the Crips, you know, maybe he took another route. Just because somebody's in a gang, that don't mean that they ain't trying to get their soul right. You know what I mean? People do things for a reason. Maybe he's the leader of the gang, to guide the youth in that area to the right direction. Sometimes that's the only way that you can talk to these kids, is if you join in what they doing. So yeah, so you know, you had Damien, Sean got killed in the back of an abandoned building. word was out that he owed a drug debt. He was selling drugs and he was getting rich, and he forgot to pay for the package, and they came and murdered him. You know, which was sad because Sean was a good dude, man. I remember him when I was a kid, yo. We used to run through the alleyway, you know, and there was never no rival gangs over there, like posses rather, because back in the 90s it wasn't called gangs, it was called posses in New York. You know, it was just them. People dared not to come over there because they already knew my cousin John and the crew, and it was over 100 of them. It was a lot. They covered that whole area in the 90s. So, you know, we had to move out of from East 92nd Street. We moved from East 96 to East 92nd. And the reason why we moved from East 92nd Street is because the landlord didn't want to fix anything. And this is when the poverty came into play. East 96th Street was like a real good place to live, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it was a nice place. The landlord was a good landlord. You know, they fixed things where they needed to. It was a 2-bedroom. You know, of course, you know, my siblings and I shared the room, but it wasn't messy. You know, it was a clean situation there. But when we moved to East 92nd Street, that's when things got reckless, because around the corner on our block was a nice, clean block. You know, but when you go around the corner, it was kind of harsh. You know, my cousin John and them, you know, they ran the building, you know, that they lived in. You know, another cousin, I found out he was a cousin of mine, Dashik, you know, his sister Kizzy and everything. God bless him, you know, and his mom, you know. I met Dashik when I was in public school, PS219. You know what I mean? I never made it to the annex or Somas because we moved out before that. And after that, you know, like I said, East 92nd Street it became poverty. Even though my mother was working, my mother had a job. She you know what I mean? She was in school to do whatever that she was doing, you know, that she do now. And, you know, my mom, she was doing that for years, man. That job that she do now, man. She went to school for that, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, but landlord didn't want to fix nothing. You know, he was an older Jewish guy, and he wanted to collect rent. And shout outs to Mr. Roy and Miss Sarah, because Mr. Roy did all he can do to fix that building. He was a super. He did all he can do to fix that building, yo. But no matter what he did, he didn't really have, you know, help from the landlord. The landlord only gave him a certain amount of money to do certain things for that building. So then we moved out. This is when the journey begins in my life, you know, the tough journey. You know, we moved out. Shout out to Miss Gloria and Terry and Tracy. God bless the dead Mr. Val. He got stabbed up by his new girlfriend because he had, you know, him and Miss Gloria broke up. You know, God bless Mr. Val. You know, he was a good Jamaican dude, an old school Jamaican dude who just knew the rigors of life. He was really a big time drug dealer, but he wasn't the average drug dealer. You know what I mean? He wasn't like that. All I'm gonna just say is just God bless him, man. God bless his soul. May he rest in peace. Gone but never forgotten. I just want to say that. And when we moved in the shelter system, it was harsh. You know what I mean? But first we moved to my Aunt Jessie's house, and that was in Howard Housing Projects, which was very tough. Those projects was tough projects. People used to get jumped outside every day. I got tested by a few people because let me tell you something. Y'all guys, if you ever lived in the projects, you know there's no way you could live in the projects and nobody don't test who you are. soon as you seen a new face up in the projects, you know what I mean? It was like the wolves. Like they had to, they had to, you had to be beat into the system. You know what I mean? You had to be tested, just to see who you are. So I ran into a couple of fights, living in Howard projects and everything, by a girl and a dude. So that's initiated. I had to be initiated, into that neighborhood. My sisters was never touched on that level. It was just me that was tested. Shout out to my friend that I knew in the projects, Boomy. Boomy was a playboy. Last I heard he got married. It didn't last because he was playing around. But it was problems because it was a whole bunch of us living in my aunt's house and everything. And, a lot of things was going down. And my mother didn't want to stay there no longer like that. Even though I love my aunt and I love my cousins. I love them to death, man. My cousin Omar, I love you, cuz. I love my cousin Bo. The situation was my pops, he was always in the street hustling and he never came back at night. And, my mother left my aunt's house because she didn't want, to, make my cousins and them uncomfortable with what she was going through with my pops. So, the level of respect that my mother had, she just said, hey, we gonna leave because this is too much to be burdening on my aunt and my cousins and them. So we left on that count right there. But other than that, it was good staying with them. I learned a lot from my cousins, man, especially my cousin Omar. He taught me how to build computers and all. He don't want to take the credit for that to this day, but that's what happened. He the one who taught me about electronics. My cousin Bo, the one who got me into DJing and into music, the pause tapes. You know what I'm saying? That's where it all started out for me, the pause tapes. Listening to Red Alert every Friday and Saturday. Papito, Stretch Armstrong show, the Awesome Two. A lot of people, they don't remember that, man. I go way back when it comes down to the history with certain things. So, first thing that you do back in those days, in the 80s and 90s, is at this point in time, it was in the 80s. We had to go to the shelter, downtown Brooklyn, whereas you had all kinds of people living in that. Living in the welfare center. They were literally living there because it was hard to find people with shelter. And you would stay in the shelter until, you would stay in the welfare center until a place was available for you to go in. My mother literally took us everywhere. She took us to work with her. My father was there. He was busy scraping up the money so we could get an apartment. And he was hustling. He was playing dice and selling drugs. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna keep it real. He's no longer here right now. He passed away. But he let me tell you something. That's gonna be on another note. He had a strong influence in my life. Very strong influence. It was him and it was like 3 other people. So we ended up, staying in the welfare center for like a week. My mother would go to work. She'd take us to work with her. Then we'd come back to the welfare center and we'll get tuna fish sandwiches, big chunky tuna fish sandwich. I don't even know if that's real tuna fish. And we'll get peanut butter and jelly. So it was so much jelly and peanut butter on that one piece of bread, it was a shame. And a juice. Now, back in the 80s, and I'm quite sure a lot of people have if you from New York City, you have experienced this. If your family had issues with poverty, you know what I'm saying? My mother was a person that was too proud to let my grandmother know what was going on. She didn't want my family lived in Long Island, most of them. It was only it was still a few hands of people, that was in Brooklyn, but everybody was in Long Island really. So you know, they had the shelter system that they had was dangerous. First of all, that was when Ed Koch was the mayor, of New York City at that point in time. One of the shelters that they wanted to send us to was called the Martinique. The Martinique shelter, it used to be a hotel by 42nd Street or somewhere like that, and they tried to send us there, and I remember my mother, cause we walked everywhere. My mother didn't have a car. My father had a car, but my mother was a woman that was too proud. Even to this day, she the same way. She don't want nobody to help doing nothing. She's like a too proud kind of woman, So she decided for us, being that we was coming from a job, we lived in a train system, That's what it seemed like. I remember those days like it was yesterday. The song that Public Enemy made, "A Rebel Without a Cause." That's how we felt like. That's how I felt. I was a rebel without a cause, And I had a Walkman, and I used to run that song so many times. The beat alone was like, the beat was a killer, Public Enemy was my favorite group before Tupac. Public Enemy, they spoke to everybody's situation. Their voice, the things that they were saying, it was telling your whole life story. And then came KRS-One, BDP, Posse. And, we got off on a train where the Martinique Hotel was, and I'll never forget, it was a posse of rats. Just like how you see pigeons just standing around, they were just standing around on the street. Like, it was regular. Nobody could bother them. It didn't, they was just standing there. They was fearless rats. Anything that you can do wouldn't make them rats run. They were just walking around and standing in groups like it was normal. I remember that. And my mother said, "Well, come on, y'all, let's cross the street. There's a bunch of rats over there." So, we crossed the street, and then we went to the Martinique Hotel, and we seen how it looked. And this is the hotel that the city was putting people that was homeless in. Windows was all busted out. Druggies in front of the building and everything. It was rough, It was rough. And the night that we walked by just to see what it was, somebody got shot that night. So we proceeded to go back to the welfare center, and that's why it took us a week to get out of there, because my mother had to work. So whenever we leave the hotel, the welfare center, we would have to wait longer because we'll lose our spot. So we went over there, and my mother would always request that she did not want to go to the Martinique Hotel. I remember her saying that, and there was one particular lady who knew my mom's, and she had respect for my mother because she knew my pops as well. My pops was a dude that was in the street that was known. He was known, you know what I mean? Like, he was a well-known dude to be respected. And he ain't never killed nobody to get that respect. He just was a dude that was respected in the street. You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget, every time we mention my pop's name, people will go all out the way for us, man. That was the respect that he had in the street. That's how deep it was. And he was a guy that loved Harlem. You know what I'm saying? But he was known all over the boroughs. He used to do business all over the boroughs, man. I can't even mention it. But it wasn't to hurt nobody. You know, of course, selling drugs, yeah, that's to hurt people. But people that use drugs, that's their choice. If you ask me, you're not forcing nothing like that on it. So, make a long story short, there was another hotel called the Four Bells. Four Bells was supposed to be sort of like an apartment situation, and they'd put you there until they could find you an apartment, but you always had worries because it was a type of hotel situation where if another family needed somewhere, you'll be stuffed in there, sort of like sharing a room. You'll be stuffed in there with another family to whom you never known, you never met them in your life. You don't know what kind of people they were, but they gonna put them in the room, in the apartment with you. And then there was another one called Amboy. Amboy was in Brownsville. Amboy shelter system was like an apartment, but the same thing like Four Bells. You know what I mean? Like they had put another family in. You never know who them people was. My homeboy Lewis, who's last I heard he was the chief of police in New York City. I don't know if he still got that job, but his mother had 19 kids, and they ended up living in that place in Amboy. You know, so, and I went there to visit them a few times, and that was a harsh place to live at. It was so bad they had to have Japanese Akitas as guard dogs outside the place because there was a lot of violence. I remember I went there to visit them one day, and some dude got shot in the head, and his body was still laying there on the ground. It was a lot of killing over there, you know. But that came later on in my life, that experience, and we gonna get into that later, more, you know, later time. But then there was another shelter called Catherine Street Shelter, which was an old public school, and they made it into a shelter. And each of the classrooms had beds lined up in it. Each of the classrooms was real big. It was sort of like an old college or something like that. And that was like semi-decent. And we ended up living in there. And again, the director named Linda, I remember her name. Linda was an Italian lady who she dug my mother because I remember Linda like it was yesterday, yo. I remember the dude called Mardonado. And these people really, they helped my mom out. You know what I mean? Like, my pops, like I said, my pops was still in the picture, but he was a hustler. He was hustling out there in the street in Harlem and in Brooklyn. And he was hustling with the RZA's step pops, Jimmy. And Jimmy was my father's protection man, you know. I knew the RZA and Old Dirty before they became who they became. You know, they was living in Marcus Garvey projects. My mother was the RZA's mom best friend. Old Dirty was always like that. That wasn't an act on TV. He was really crazy like that, yo. That's for real. That's real talk. He was really like that. And anyway, we lived in Catherine Street, which was near the Smith projects, and that's how I know about the Smith boys, you know, because we lived in a shelter system right there, and my sister ended up dating a dude who his name was Love. He was down with the Smith boys, and every time something went down, he would always talk to my sister, and I would just so happen to be there in the room, and he would always talk to me as well. And it was just crazy, man, the whole thing that went down. And I knew some of the Smith boys, you know. They saying like something was in trouble, they go, hey, yo, you know. That was me, like, yo, we got beef. You know, that's how that was. And they used to have, you know, fights with Decepticons and all in that park by FDR Drive. But the reason why I'm saying this, and this ain't even half my life story, yo. My life story goes deep. Is because I came a long way as a kid. You know what I'm saying? I came a long way. It's a lot of things that I've been through in my life, man. You know what I'm saying? I almost was killed. You know, my man Lou got shot like 5 times, and you know, I was sitting right there, and the dude didn't shoot me because he thought I was one of his boys. You know, so you know, yeah, it's crazy, but. Make a long story short, we stayed in Catherine Street for a while, and you know, I met a lot of nice people as a kid. You know, especially this brother by the name of Hassan. You know, God bless Hassan. He died in the shelter. Hassan was on drugs, and you know, he used to use needles and all that. And one day he just died in his bed in the shelter, and he was dead in that room for a long time. They didn't even know he was dead. He died actually sitting up on a bed, and they had to like crack his body in order for them to carry him out, because he already done stiffened up. And you know, we found out we had a cousin. She was my mother's best friend after Linda Lute had passed away. You know, the RZA's mom. Debbie was my mother's best friend, and we didn't even know we was cousins. That's a crazy part. We never knew that we were all related. We never knew that. We was in the shelter system on my father's side. You know, Debbie. And everything, and God bless Debbie. You know, I haven't heard from her in a long time, but she lives in Harlem. Last I heard, you know, she loved Harlem. So then the journey begins when we moved to Bedford-Stuyvesant. I represent Bedford-Stuyvesant because when I was first born, we didn't really stay places very long. You know, my mother and father was always on the move all the time. Bedford-Stuyvesant was the place where we really landed our bones, man. Like, we really dug into Bedford-Stuyvesant. You know what I mean? Even though I was born in Kings County, Bedford-Stuyvesant was like, I seen like my whole life over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I represent Bed-Stuy. You know, and we done seen drive-bys to memorable people getting killed on the corner. The corner was a dangerous thing, you know, back in them days, man. You know, and a lot of the older G's, man, they knew my pops. And my pops was the type of dude who moved silent. Like, his group of people was a handful of people that he moved with specifically. Even though he knew a lot of people, he moved with a handful of people specifically, yo. And every day that he did his thing, he walked around with $100,000 in his pocket, literally in a bag, all the time, and a gun, of course. You know. Nobody never wanted to test his gangster. He never got tested. He just was that type of man who was well respected in the street. And you know, we've been through a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like, just, you know, it was a lot of things that happened. You know, my little niece was born in the house in the apartment that we lived in. You know what I'm saying? I went to PS 271. You know, then later on I went to IS 210, which was on the corner of Park Place, and I forgot the name of that street, but that's when I was exposed to the lowlives and the Decepticons and the gang that I was in called the Renegades, you know. And from that point on, I seen a lot of things, you know, and this is the point that I'm making. A lot of these younger kids, man, y'all, especially the rappers, yo, y'all got it made, yo. Y'all ain't had the, y'all, yo, most of y'all guys ain't never seen nothing hard in your life. And when you make it, yo, you wanna do the gang activity. You wanna, you know what I mean? You wanna, it's a lot of stuff that you wanna do. Like, you made it. There was people that paved the way for y'all guys. My story is so large, I can't fit it all on this video, because I would be on this video for like a week. It'd be impossible to upload this video. Y'all guys, y'all taking all of this, what y'all have, and y'all throwing it away. The youth, you have the power. When I was a young youth, we didn't have any power, yo. We didn't have the tools that y'all guys have today. We did not have it. There was people that got killed for senseless reasons. You had Yusuf Hawkins, he was one of those guys. You know, he got killed in Howard Beach because he was dating a girl that wasn't of his race. And he was on his way going home, and he was chased by a mob, and they killed him on the highway. You know, it's so many things, man, that y'all youth of today, man, y'all have it made, yo. Y'all have it made. Y'all have power. Y'all are fearless. Y'all are fearless, yo. Y'all need to start taking advantage of this power that y'all guys have. That's why UDR Productions, man, UDR Productions is a team whereas we give people that voice, yo. We give people that voice, yo. People that yo, if you got a story to tell, UDR Productions right there for you. Anybody can get on UDR Productions if you want to tell your story. Because I still have a lot to say. I experienced racism. I experienced police brutality. There's a lot of things that I experienced in this life that I would never put on anyone. That's why I don't worry no more. I don't worry. I don't worry about anything in life because I know God. I put it in God's hands, yo. Anything I have, I put it in God's hands. I don't worry no more because in my mind, it's snapped. Anything that's man-made, it could be conquered. You can do something because man made it. But once God has a final decision, it is what it is. It's up to God to change God's mind. So I'm going to just say this, yo. I'm glad that I grown up to be a man, and I'm glad I went through the experiences that I went through in life. And I'm going to tell you, if I could do it all over again, I would not do it all over again in life. I would not. And a lot of kids nowadays, they have a lot of power. It's just up to them to use it. Power is essential to what we go through in life. I just want y'all guys to know that I'm thankful that y'all guys subscribe to UDR Productions because y'all guys are making us big And you know what? I noticed there's a lot of YouTubers. I'm, you know what? I'm seeing people thank people now. I've never seen nobody thank nobody, really, to be honest with you. I've just heard people bragging about how many subscribers they have, they're super YouTuber and all of that. I've heard a lot of that, you know, but maybe some people seen me thanking y'all guys and they said, you know what, that brother is right. Let me start thanking people. Because the more subscribers you get, the more you can enable other people to come to the production company and voice their opinion, tell their story. Yo, this new generation that we got growing up doesn't have a clue in what's going on, because it's not the right people that's giving them a chance to learn. But being that YouTube is the new TV, and we had the right people to come and speak about their experiences in life, these youth is gonna be watching that, because they already know that YouTube is the new TV, and they could take this and they could learn from it. UDR Productions, we about teaching and helping people to learn that there's a better way in life, yo. You don't have to settle for what you settle it for. It's more out there than you think. And that's real talk. I just thank y'all guys for subscribing, man. And you know, I did something yesterday that I haven't done in a long time, man. I spent some time with my older brother, man. My big brother, we drove out to Manhattan, you know, and my mother, she just had major surgery, you know, on her neck and everything. And, you know, of course we didn't get a chance to go to see her. But she's doing pretty good now. The surgery was a success. My mother's a strong woman, man. My pops was a strong father. He lived past the day that they expected him to go when he had liver cancer. And my thing is with my pop's death is I think that he thought that people didn't love him. He gave up in life. He's been a hustler all his life. And when something that you know goes away, most people of his caliber do give up. That's all he knew. His whole life was hustling. But I sought out to be a better man to anybody and everybody, man. Especially with people that want to learn things. I'm going to give you my experience in life, because I got a whole lot that I need to say about what I've been through in life. The way I talk, it didn't happen in one night. It's days, years. I have memories in my head that would never go away. And it all starts in Brooklyn. Bedford-Stuyvesant, kid. Brownsville. East New York. Crown Heights. But Bed-Stuy is where I live. And that's where I'm from. Shout out to Flatbush in the 90s as well. East Flatbush. Love you all. Peace and good night. Yes, indeed, y'all. Yes, indeed. Welcome to UDR Productions. Please like, subscribe, and share. It doesn't cost you nothing to subscribe, so we can keep bringing you guys all this good content from prayer to streets. UDR Productions. Let's go and let's get it.